Okay, so today we're going to talk about how to make that deep melodic sub-bass line that we can hear most of the time in drum and bass production, or in two steps, dubsteps, or also burial. You know, that sort of like very overwhelming bass that has melodic characteristic and also sub-bass characteristic. So let's have a look. Let's play the demo first, and after we're gonna talk about how I create the magic. So as you can hear, we have a very powerful, ominous bass line that has very subby, it's very melodic, and very overwhelming. You know, it's really grouping the whole song with a really powerful bass energy. So let's go through all the elements that compose bass. So the first thing I want to say is that I use the multi-layering technique. So it's a 4 synthesizer amalgamated together in order to form one powerful sound. And this is probably what most producers do. Although I'm not entirely sure, you can use one synth and it will be the same. But in my case, I like to play with a different synthesizer and decide which element, if I want it to be more melodic or if I want it to be more subby. It's up to you basically. So let's go with the first one. So the first element, it's a massive, which is very powerful sub-bass energy. So I modified it in a way to be like that, to be like really subby, really ominous. There is a filter, and also I added these 4 elements, 4 plugins. So the first one, without those one, first of all, it will sound like this, which is still okay, but is missing a bit of power. So the first one is pedal. The pedal, basically, it's helping me to add harmonics to the bass. When you add harmonics to the bass, you are adding the melody. I mean, you perceive the melody in the bass. You perceive also that it's louder. It's not necessarily that it's adding the melody. There is already the melody in the bass. It's just that the pedal, gives a bit of dirtiness, which I also like. Then we have a chorus. With the chorus, it gives this patina on the bass. Silver patina, I'm calling it. Which is much more pleasant to hear. And then I added 2 instances of Sound Toys plugin. So the first one is the Little Radiator. And the second one, the Decapitator. Yeah. Decapitator and Little Radiator, I personally use a lot when it comes to bassline, because they really bring up the power and the definition in the bass as well. And then to top it up, I have 4 synths, which all of the 4 synths are connected to. So the first one is parallel compression, stereo, and the second one is a reverb. So without a reverb, it sounds a bit dull. With the reverb, it gives that nice tail, especially because this sort of sub-bass melodic game we're doing has to do with melody. So when you add reverb, you add profoundness, you add deepness and depth. Okay, so let's go with the next one. The next one, it's a killer bass. I call it killer bass because this bass is much more dirty and not so subby compared to the first one. I mean, if I go down with the octave, you can start to hear a little bit more bass. But so basically, this bass, it's a Reactor Monarch, which is the official bass synth of Reactor, which I use most of the time in my production. So with I packed this plugin with a lot of waves VST. So without sound like this, which is not so powerful. So the first one is the NLS channel. To beef it up a little bit. Then we have an R bass. R bass, it's adding bass energy to the signal. Then we have a PS22 spread. So the PS22 spread, I'm not entirely sure, but I think it's helping to spread out the stereo width of the sound. You can feel the difference if I play without. You can feel on the left and right, especially if you hear the headphones, you can feel the spreading the butter on the bread. And then we have a reverb to give a bit more space, much more church-like. And then we have a vitamin. So vitamin, it's giving a more definition on the bass. And as you can see here, I kind of removed almost entirely the mid frequencies, and I added more on the low mid and on the low. And the last, which is the cherry on top, is the J37, which is a tape emulator. And in this case, this J37 is giving me the all dirt that I want from the bass. So I'm gonna play without first, and after I'm gonna switch on the plugin, see the difference. So it removed a bit of the power, but it added this kind of, you know, I always say the patina on top, it added this kind of color to the sound, which I really like. Aesthetically talking, I really like this kind of bass like this. And on the top of that, there are 4 cents active on it. So the first one is the reverb. The second one is the delay, which is a normal ping-pong delay. Actually, it's not ping-pong, it's just a normal delay. And the third one, it's a echo delay, and that is really giving me the tail that I like, which is this filtered out tail on the high pass frequencies, and then a parallel compression connected to it. So, and that was the killer bass. Next on the third one, we have a spirit bass. So it's called spirit bass because it sounds like this. So this is more a pad rather than a bass, but it has bass energy in it. I mean, it's a very bassy pad, you can say. And we have here a bunch of effects that are giving these characters. So let's just switch off all the effect and play without. It's still powerful, it's still good, but it's missing a bit of color. So first things is the chorus, and the chorus I always like in the previous example on the first one. The chorus is giving that, you know, that colorful pattern on top. Then we have a pedal, and the pedal, as we said before, it's giving a bit of harmonics out. It gives the sound a bit more dirty. Then we have an equalizer just to equalize and remove all this bass energy that we don't need on top. Then the API 2500, which is a compressor, and microshift from Soundtoys, a decapitator. Decapitator probably is my favorite among all the Soundtoys plugins, and an autopan at the end. And the autopan function as I would like to move the signal left and right on the channel. And again, a reverb and a delay send, and also connected with a parallel compression. So it's a spirit bass, the third element of my powerful sub bass. The fourth one, it's called terror bass. I know the names are quite funny, but you know, it's called terror bass because it's pretty much terroristic. So again, I'm using Reactor. This time I use a preset from the Reactor blocks called Ghostly, and it was a really powerful sound, and I really liked it. And I added an echo plugin, a mono plugin, and the Devil Lock. The Devil Lock gives a bit of crunchiness and crush in the sound to make it a bit dirty. And I have a mono plugin, so the thing is that usually the bass, it's a mono signal sound, like the kick drum as well is also in mono. It doesn't have to be always in mono bass, but in 95% of the music, bass is always in mono. But because this sub bass thing that I'm doing has melodic element in it, I wanted to have some element of the bass in stereo and some element of the bass in mono. Therefore, I have the terror bass and the killer bass are in mono, and the spirit bass and the massive bass are in stereo, so that I have full control of the whole spectrum. So now, let's play together the whole thing, the whole 4 synthesizer. You can feel now it's much more powerful. The 4 elements together forms this kind of ominous, deep and melodic touch. Okay, so now let's play a melody and adding the element of the bass, increasing the volume at my pleasure, because the thing of the multi-layer is that you decide which element of the melodic parts are going upwards or downwards, and which element of the medium bass goes upward and downwards, and which element of the sub bass goes upward and downward. So you get to choose. Yeah, now you can see it's too loud, the killer bass. Okay, then the spirit bass. Yeah, you don't want it to be too strong, just right above, sit down perfectly in the mix. And the terror bass. Exactly, so more or less this is the one I like, and then then again in the phase of mixing I will adjust better, so this is just the composition style, so it's not really. But that's the very powerful sub bass, and when you get this kind of sub bass, music becomes more fun to play with. So yeah, this is how I make my deep melodic sub bass game, and it's basically a game of multi-layering. So you get to choose what kind of part of the bass you want to bring upwards or downward according to your track. If you want it to be more melodic, if you want it to be more subby, if you want it to be more spiritual, if you want it to be more dirty or metallic, or if you want it to be more white noise-ish or pink noises. So you get to choose how you want the sound to be. And also it will be more unique to you, to your production, and rather than using just one preset, it will be much more interesting in that sense. And also, I decided to give a sort of music consultation from now on. So if you want me to listen to your track and give some opinion, or if you want me to mix your track, to master, or either remix your track, you can get in touch with me on the About section of my YouTube channel, or you can just find me on Instagram, and we get to talk and see something about it. So that's everything for today. Thank you for watching, and see you on the next one.